Dr. Isela Garcia. Welcome to the kindergarten experience where we engage children's minds, provide meaningful opportunities for learning, and encourage critical thinking. How do we do that? The electric cornstarch experiment. Let me show you what you need. You need vegetable oil, cornstarch, and it's important to bring in the actual containers into the classroom. You want them to talk about the familiarity that they have with the products that you bring in, so they can talk about their experience at home with vegetable oil or cornstarch. You're going to bring in measuring cups, and depending on the size of your group, this is an activity that you would want children to actually do themselves, so maybe even pair them up or do a very small group where each child has some part in this. You're going to have a bowl and a couple different types of spoons. For some children, this type of movement might be a little too difficult for them still, so you want to provide a larger spoon for them as well. So this is what you're going to do. First, and this is letting the children do this. I want to make that very clear. Children should have the opportunity to be the ones in charge of their learning. You're providing the experiences, but you're offering them many opportunities to be in charge. So here I'm mixing the vegetable oil and then the cornstarch. This is a good opportunity to have a conversation about their experience with cornstarch, as I mentioned, but more importantly about the texture of cornstarch. Many of us who have done what's called goop, it's cornstarch and water, and if you've done that with children, it's a good opportunity to extend that experience and say, do you remember when we used cornstarch before? What did we mix it with? Does anyone remember? And how is this different? So you're going to have them mix it, and as they are mixing the solution or the concoction, depending on what words you want to integrate into this experience, you want to ask them what's happening. What's happening with the cornstarch? And it does start to dissolve into the oil. So you're going, as they continue to mix, engage in language. What's the texture like? Now, it does get a little yellow from the vegetable oil, and that's, you talk about that. You talk about texture and liquid and about it dissolving. So you want to get it just enough, and there's going to be some little balls in there of cornstarch, and that's okay. The consistency is something you're going to have to play with. If it's too thin, add a bit more cornstarch to thicken it up a bit. So once it's well mixed, we pull out the surprise, a balloon, yay! Kids love balloons. You ask them, what's been your experience with balloons? Now, kiddos have had birthday parties, and they've also probably done what we're about to do. We need to create static electricity onto the balloon. You ask children, what is static electricity? And how do you generate static electricity? And you're gonna have a kid or two who has rubbed it on their head, and then that's gonna start this whole experience of children just getting excited about doing this. I personally like to sing a song that goes, I rub it on my body, I rub it on my, but some kids aren't gonna like that, and that's okay. So you have to have a backup plan. And a backup plan really, a puppet works great. If you have a puppet and you just let them rub it on the balloon, that's going to generate enough static electricity to get some movement. So let me show you what happens next. Once the children have enough, and it's really cool because you can actually hear the static electricity forming. So you want to go, I rub it on my body, you rub it everywhere, you rub it on the stuffed animal, and you want to get enough static electricity. So when you lift this mixture, you want to have a consistency where it's a bit thick and where it's dripping this way. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because you say to children, it's a careful, small movement. So we're going to observe very closely, and we're going to create these little drips. We're going to have to pay close attention. So when we get the balloon close by, you can actually see it move. Do you notice that? Look at how exciting that is. And then you move it away and you have them do it again. And again, getting these drips takes a little bit of practice, but again, they are the scientists. And you say to them, how do you get it to move? So this experience is such an incredible opportunity for language. We want to make sure that we have our display of vocabulary words that we can incorporate within the context of the experience. When we include words like explore and static and cornstarch and thick. Those are all expanding their vocabulary. When we do any type of experience, but this one in particular, listen for what they're talking about. Listen for how they're describing things. And as you're listening, write those notes down, because that informs you as a teacher how you're going to approach planning and what other experiences will encourage them to really be investigators and scientists in their experience. Remember, let's make a commitment to engage children's minds, and don't forget to have fun. The Kindergarten Experience is brought to you by the Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust in collaboration with the Arizona Department of Education and the Alessi Group.